Welcome back. This is Steven, one of the hosts of True Talk Tuesdays. This is part 2 of our interview with Master David Lynton. If you haven't seen part 1, go ahead and click on that. It should be linked in the description. Just be aware that we did have a continuity error in our 2-part interview, and part 2, we're picking up the pieces and running with it. Thank you for your patience and your understanding, and enjoy the show.
Okay, apparently
Welcome back.
Little technical difficulty, so I don't know where we left off or where we got cut off, but we're gonna.
Do we want to play back a
continue on? We'll figure it out post edit.
We've got a 2-parter coming out.
Yeah, it'll be a 2-parter.
Yeah,
because usually they're only about 30-minute episodes.
So going back to politics,
somebody that's when the computer decided to shut off. You're like, oh, we can't talk politics. But when it comes to TruMotion, I know we talked yesterday. Our main as a group, our main goal is to grow and get more schools and get our message out there. What is it about like just TruMotion in general that keeps you excited about training instructors and training people and being in the martial arts effectively?
Well, I love teaching.
Yeah.
Anything. I like teaching in general. I love the martial arts, and I like teaching the martial arts. I like watching people progress, like the instructor. I just teach the instructors now, which is fine. But I like watching you guys progress. Like I see progress and improvement, and that's rewarding to me as an instructor. And I learn a lot from teaching, as you do too, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how you learn the most in anything. People ask you questions that you never thought. Where's your hand go when you do that? I don't know.
Getting back to questioning.
Right.
It's like, I think that's how people start to think through training, is they ask a question. They're like, what is going on here? Or I forgot this. And they're willing to ask those questions as opposed to just trying to figure it out for themselves.
And a lot of systems, the more traditional systems, they don't encourage questioning. Just do it this way. This is the way it's done.
Yeah. Ironically enough, I was having this conversation with a new student that just signed up, and she had trained karate way back in the day when she was super young. And I was telling her, I feel like the unique thing about us is we try to conform the system to fit you, not you conform to fit the system. And she's like, oh, that was the exact opposite of what I was originally done. They're like, you got to do it exactly this way, and there's no other deviation. And I feel like that's one of the better things about what we do. And again, that free thinking, it's like we don't have that ego to where it's like it's got to be done exactly this way, this way, this way.
Well, it's kind of built into the system with the 5 animals.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everyone's going to have a predominant physical animal and personality animal.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of systems don't take into account your personality.
That's true.
Wow.
That is very true. I never really thought of it that way.
Because if you're a tiger,
yeah,
it's going to affect how you interact physically. If you're, it all plays a part.
It all kind of combines together. So, but yeah, no, I'm really excited with the direction that we're heading with, just how lucky we are to have a group that we do. Because I know you've been to out-of-state tournaments with me. I've been to out-of-state tournaments with you. And just like going to out-of-state events, just how nobody has anything remotely close to what we've been able to, like through you and Master Martin, been able to cultivate with bringing groups of people together.
So Utah martial arts, throughout the different iterations to TruMotion, we've always had a reputation for being good in the fighting department, decent in the forms, and I hesitate to say a cut above some of the other outside other states, but I think some of that is the way a lot of it's the way the instructors teach their students.
Yeah.
And if you're in a different culture, like California, say, it's maybe like, oh, well, we can't be hard on these people, or something else is affecting them, and they focus on different things. So I think going back to what you're saying, lucky to have this group, it's a culture we've developed over years.
Yeah. And I know that's something that has always been talked about. And I've understood the concept of culture, but I never really was able to see the importance of it until you're in a good culture. Because I remember back when I first started, when Russell was in charge, I mean, we had far more people and instructors at that point. I remember there was 16 schools in Utah.
That many?
Yeah. Yeah, we had a lot. It was between 14 and 16 schools in Utah. And we had a giant academy. I mean, we had just people all over the place, but the culture was bad. It was toxic, and people kept quitting and kept leaving. So, you know, you hear the term culture, and like, that was the first thing that went to my mind was that's culture. And it's like, that sucked. Like, I don't want that
Culture
anymore.
sucks.
Culture sucks. And then all of a sudden, you know, you start venturing out on your own. And then when you're by yourself, I mean, you were by yourself for how long?
Well, years.
Yeah. And being by yourself sucks too.
Yeah, there's a lot of challenges.
Yeah. I mean, the different challenges. And then all of a sudden, when like I started working predominantly with like you and Master Martin, it's like, okay, this is a different type of culture that I can get behind because I can see where it's going and I can see the benefits of it. And it's not the culture that I was used to.
So I learned about culture during Rodney King beatings because they fired Chief Gates. They go, oh, he's going to set a bad culture. I was thinking at the time, he was probably at home in his living room. He didn't hit anybody.
Yeah.
But he set the tone for the department. And that's when I really opened my eyes to leadership sets the tone and the culture.
Yes.
Every business has its own culture. Every single one of them. And it's all determined by corporate or leadership. Whoever.
Yeah. And I can honestly say between the two of you, like character wise, I don't know any better people. So it's like if these two people are at the head of this organization, I know it's not going to be steered wrong. And we're going in a direction that everybody can get behind. And I can't say that about the ones in the past to where, you know, it was like driven by beatings or like fear and like all that stuff where it's like, if you don't do what you're told, it's like, you better watch out and this and that. It's like, that's not how you gain traction moving forward.
But there were 16 schools.
Again, that is true.
But it all fell apart.
It was like built on sand.
Right.
It's like you may have built it up really fast and really far, but truthfully, only 2 schools were doing well. Now, like, we have 3 schools, and all 3 schools are doing well.
There's at some point a number of dojos becomes it has momentum. So when you reach a certain number, it's easier to get the more and more because now you already have. And I'm not sure what the number is, but I think it's in the 7 or 8 neighborhood.
That would make sense. Yeah.
Because now you have enough. It builds excitement. It builds momentum. More people hear about you.
Yeah. And I think now that, you know, like we talked about yesterday, certain things happening and certain things getting over with, I really kind of foresee that big acceleration in expansion to where I would dare say within 4 years, we'll probably have that 7-8 school mark.
I hope so. And if we put our minds and our training to that direction, I don't see why we can't.
Yeah.
And the trick with this business is training the instructors.
Yeah. Instructors
that takes time.
Is always the bottleneck.
And it has to be a certain personality.
And you think you got someone that'll be good, and all of a sudden they're not good. And then you don't think somebody will be good, and all of a sudden they're like exactly what you need. So it's never...
You need someone who's good with people and a decent martial artist.
Yeah.
People think it's the other way around.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's not. It's a success is if you're good with people.
Yeah, because I've noticed that it doesn't matter how good your sidekick is. If you can't relate to people, you're not going to show them your sidekick.
You have 7 students.
Exactly.
They'll be good.
Yeah, they'll be way good.
So I did it both ways, speaking of being on my own. So I came from the more harder environment. Yeah. So for a while, you know, I had some darn good orange belts, but they were in orange belts for 6 months or longer, right?
Yeah.
So it's really not about the belt, it's about how much time. And then I went through a phase where I loosened up and I noticed that quality went down in my mind. Well, quality went down, but that's not necessarily bad. I was just not looking at the long picture. The trick is keep people here long enough so they want to get really good.
Yeah.
And if you burn them out at a purple belt and blue belt, then you're just going to have some great purple and orange belts, but not too many.
This is true. And I found the difficult part with me is I want them to be really good.
But do they?
But they have to want to be really good. And it's that whole, I can show you everything you want, but I can't hike the trail for you. Like I'll be behind you and beside you, but you got to want to do it yourself. So that's the trick for me, is figuring out everybody's button to motivate them.
Yes, and that's hard to do. And when you're running a business, you want to have as many people as possible at least try it, because on some level, it's going to be good for them.
Yeah.
Right? Now, whether they stay with it or not stay with it will partly depend on the culture and the instructor, if you're harsh or...
Yeah.
But it also depends on the environment. Are the dojos friendly? Are people welcoming?
Yeah,
things like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think a lot goes. I mean, Stephen, you can attest more to this because you've gone through the student ranks a little bit earlier than we have. Like, what is that as a person coming into a school? What is it that you found was appealing about coming in through TruMotion?
Do you have a personal goal? For me, that was, reaching black belt, reaching that level of beginning mastery.
But why was black belt an important goal?
For me, because no one that I know has ever done it.
But why is that important?
It was important for me because I wanted to do it.
Well, why?
Because it felt right.
This is kind of an example of that question, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean it felt right?
It's like I felt like there was a drive that I could go and get something done, and it was an achievement.
But you're not answering the question as to why was that important to you.
Because I'm achievement driven.
Why is that? Why are you achievement driven?
Oh, that's a great question. You should ask my parents.
Why should I ask you? No, but do you see what I'm saying? This is actually interesting because most people are not introspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They do things and they don't necessarily know why, or they don't want to say it. Like, I'm not trying to pressure you to say what your deep secret is. But that's not an easy thing to do. So let's just take your example, right? Mm-hmm. I want a black belt. Why do you want a black belt? Because it's cool, or it's an achievement, or it's a challenge. Or why is that important to you? Looks like it shows success. Why is it important to you? You show success. You got to keep going down, and you're going to find at the bottom of that well is the real reason.
Yeah.
My parents never had faith in me, or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
something that you didn't even know.
You got to that in like 3 questions with me.
And it doesn't take much. And this is a technique.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
This is not magic. The why, and I said this in our workout, I think, why is a very powerful question.
Mm-hmm.
And don't accept, well, there's some caveats, but don't accept people's first answer, right? Like I just did with you as an example. Well, why? And you may not even really know why. You may not have thought about it. Maybe you'll go home and go, yeah, why is that important?
Why did I get this?
Yeah.
Not why did I get it? Why did I want it?
Why did I want this?
Right? And there's nothing wrong with whatever your motivation is.
Yeah.
But it's important. What is important is that you understand your motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's going back to my reasoning, as Mark just said, is I had a drive. Why am I motivated? And it's like, well, there's the goal. I want to get that. Well, why do I want to get that? Because I'm motivated to. So it kind of circles itself.
No, because you're just stopping.
Mm-mm.
Why does that motivate you? Why do you feel good about achieving that goal? Or what is motivating you to achieve it? Something is.
Right.
We don't have stuff out of the blue. I never want to be a concert pianist.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a thought.
You're not motivated to be a concert
I'm
pianist.
not interested or motivated.
Why?
It's true.
I don't know why. It has no base interest.
Okay.
I think it's more interesting to see what doesn't interest you is one thing. What does interest you and drives you is a different thing, right? So if I want to open up 10 more dojos in 3 more years. Why? Well, maybe I want to make money. Why is money important? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Keep going down to the lower level, and because then I feel good about myself and I have self-worth in this world. That's probably closer to the real truth.
Yeah. Intrinsic or extrinsic motivator.
Whoa, hey, dropping some big words on us.
Whoa,
Sorry.
Look who's showing off.
Gotta,
No, so yeah, I think that's extremely true because most people, like well, you even told us a story about where you signed up saying a certain reason, but it took you what 5 years to really.
So when I signed up for karate, in my brain it was like I want to learn self-defense.
Yeah.
But if you dig deeper, which I did, it was because I felt inadequate in defending myself. I didn't feel comfortable or competent that I could defend myself.
Yeah.
So, but you don't say that because that sounds weak for a man to say,
Yeah.
I don't think I can defend myself.
Yeah. But I think it probably most of the stuff boils down to that insecurities that we talked about earlier.
Right. And
They're insecure with something, but they don't want to admit that. But yet,
mostly men won't admit it.
yeah, men have a very hard time admitting they're insecure with anything. But it's that getting to that root problem of asking why. And I feel like we're able to do that through training. We may not be doing the actual saying like why, but you'll get the answer through them coming to class, through them doing classes, through them testing, and you'll end up finding the answer through the training, not necessarily us like actually asking you the why questions. Have you ever realized that before?
Well, as you're speaking, I'm thinking, yeah, but it's a longer process than if you're actually asking the question.
It's a much longer process because I think it's forcing them to come to find the answer, not us.
But they may not be looking.
Yes. Versus us asking them and then forcing them to think about it right there.
So let's go back to Stephen's example. I asked you why. Had you even questioned yourself as to why?
probably about 2 or 3 of those whys, and then it's like everything.
Then
else
you stop.
Yeah.
So probably, maybe, hopefully, and now you'll go home in the next little while, you'll introspect and go, yeah, why is that important to me?
Mm-hmm.
And understanding yourself is a project.
That's correct.
People don't think that. They go, well, I'm me. I look in the mirror. There I am. I get it.
Yeah.
No, you don't. You don't understand what motivates you. You don't understand what drives you. You don't understand what hurts you until you understand it.
Yeah. No,
And that's not easy
Right.
because it's uncomfortable. First of all, you have to ask the questions. Then you have to face the reality.
Yeah.
So, and we talked about this over. I heard the phrase, be authentic.
Yeah.
And if you think about being authentic, that eliminates a lot of those insecurities in the sense that our insecurities is what causes us to be not authentic because we hide stuff, we fake stuff,
Yeah.
we pretend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe I'm just not good at something. Well, instead of pretending that I am or avoiding it,
Yeah.
I'll just say, yeah, I'm not good at that. I'm not a good singer. I can't sing. When I went to church, they would say, please don't sing. The
you
spirit
go.
leaves.
Please just pretend to sing. Lip sync, please.
Yeah, could you just
Say watermelon.
could you think it in your head? Anyway, so I know that that's not my skill.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can admit that. I'm not going to pretend.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's just an example.
But yeah, again, but that goes back to men. They don't like doing that stuff. So it's how can we get through to like your modern day man in terms of like trying to be vulnerable?
Well, think about this. We don't like to admit weakness because that's a societal / cultural
Right.
pressure.
Yes.
I was thinking the same thing.
Right. So other cultures have like some of the Arabic cultures, and I think in Africa, it's not uncommon to see 2 men holding hands, but they're not homosexuals. But in U.S. culture, that's gay.
That's presumed to be
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Men don't hold hands.
Yeah.
In fact, if you go to a movie theater with another guy, you might have to sit one seat apart.
Depends on the relationship.
Right, but I'm just saying-
Yeah.
Depends on the movie too.
Yeah. Action
But you
movie.
see, those are cultural differences.
Yeah. They don't have that closeness as other cultures do.
Well, they see it differently, and we see that as unacceptable. And
Mm-hmm.
men have to be strong. People confuse strength and weakness. Like it's actually strength to admit your weakness.
Yeah.
Right.
I've definitely learned that it takes a lot of strength to admit what you're not good at and what you need work with
And what you need help with.
And when you need help with, exactly.
That's one thing we're really bad at is asking for help.
Very
Oh, yeah.
much so. Very, very much so.
'Cause that's a weakness.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so much pressure on like today's men to be providers, be strong, be all these things that I maybe it's just me, but it's taken me a long time to understand that it's okay to make sure I'm okay before I make sure everybody else is okay.
Well, it has to be that way. Put on your own air mask first before you help the guy next to you.
But as a man, you never did that, or I never did that. I was like, okay, I got to make sure everybody else around me is fine before I'm okay. I got to make sure everybody else that I'm associated with is okay, and then I'll make sure I'm okay.
Right, and you bring up a good point, but it's actually backwards because
yes.
You're one of those people.
Exactly, and it's taken me a long time to figure out if I'm not okay, I can't make sure anybody else is okay.
Or put another way, it's okay to focus on me for a while.
Yes, yeah, no, exactly. There's nothing wrong to making sure you're fine. So if you're like, hey, I need to go to the range for 2 hours or whatever and blow off some steam. There's nothing wrong with that, because if I'm okay, then I know I can provide more for my family, my kids, my students, everything.
Well,
Yeah, no, I was going to say, but yet that's taken me a long time to figure out. And it's like, how can we portray that to this next generation of men to where it's like, it's okay to be vulnerable and say that you need help and be like, I don't have everything figured out. And because it's interesting because, well, you know, my family, Jamin talked to Shanna the other day, and Shanna told me this, and it was like, oh my gosh. And we've had to have conversations with him. He's almost 20 years old, but he's comparing him. He says, man, I'm so far behind everybody. And we're like, what are you talking about? He's looking at me and Shanna and Maya, adults, and like in his mind, we have it all put together. We have like a career, we have homes. Maya's doing very well on her own. She has lots of nice stuff. And then he's sitting here like, I don't have anything. I'm not doing it. Like, he's working, but like just barely graduated high school.
So what did you tell him?
It's like, well, you're comparing somebody that's, well, Maya, she's 6 years older than you. She's got 6 years more experience. And Maya was in your same spot at your age. And I go, when I was your age, this is where I was at. And I had to relate it back to when we were his age, not, hey, you're looking at us now.
Apples and oranges.
Exactly. And it's that whole like success. Like, you remember how you always say 20 years or overnight success is a 20-year process.
Right.
People never understand and see the struggle to where people get now. And I think a lot of men, young men, they see certain men in society and they're like, God, I am not that person. Why am I not that person? And again, it's like comparing apples to oranges. It's like, you can't do that. You are you and they are them. So how can you make your version the best version of yourself? Because again, everybody's got different challenges. Jamin's got his own challenges. I have my own challenges. And it's like, you can't compare where people are now to where you are now.
Right.
I think what's glorified on social media is the success and not the work. And what people see, as our familiar saying is, the overnight success is 20 years in the process. They don't see the 20 years. They see it. The lights turn on and like, oh, wow, this person's in business making 7 figures.
Yeah.
And so then we as the consumer of social media see that and be like, well, now I feel inadequate. Now I feel like
I've been in business for a month and I haven't made $1 million yet. What's wrong with me?
Where's my 6-figure check?
Exactly. Or they don't see the time, the late nights, the stress, the everything associated with becoming successul. And again, I don't know if that's just, maybe this is exactly how we get through that. This is how we portray that message to the next generation of men, in terms of like, no, you have to work hard and it's going to take time to get anything worthwhile in life.
We're screwing up the next generation of men. We're telling them they don't have to provide, that they're toxic, that they're bad, that they're racist, and that this and that and the other. And everything they do is going to be vilified. We are not creating a good culture for the next generation.
That's why I feel like it's become a little bit of my mission, not just with teaching, but with teaching strong men, the next generation of strong men.
But how do we do that?
By having these conversations with them, by telling them it's like, hey, it's okay to be vulnerable, but yet you're strong by doing that. It's okay to admit that you're not good at something, but yet you can work on that.
So what about this? Strength comes from a framework of, I would suggest, strong values and morals.
Yes.
Whatever your values and morals are will determine and dictate your actions. What's okay, what's not okay, and that's you're going to be what you check against. Like, should I steal from this store? Wait, do not steal. Okay, no, that's bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So that's a parental problem. What did you teach your kids?
Yeah.
And how did you teach them?
No, again, it comes back to, I think it stems from the household, and you can probably see this too a little bit. Sometimes people bring their kids to us to
do their job,
to help parent their kids. And at first I was all like, God, what is wrong with these people? Like, I wouldn't say upset, but I wouldn't understand. Now I've kind of gone past that and be like, well, it doesn't matter why they're doing it. Now I have the opportunity to help.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. That's what I've always said. When you're teaching, especially children, that's I don't want to say, it's definitely an opportunity. It's a blessing opportunity.
Yeah, when you can mold
you might bless their lives.
Yeah.
And then it gets to, look, this is why I focus on the little things like bowing in and out of the dojo. Don't let your belt hit the floor.
Yeah.
Discipline,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And don't go out in your gi. Why? It matters.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the Navy guy, the general who said, make your bed in the morning.
That is a great book.
Yeah. It's a similar concept,
Yeah.
right?
The little
have a
things
structure,
matter.
have a routine, especially as you're older, and you can work through that routine. That gives you direction.
Yeah.
You can adjust the routine if it doesn't work or change it, but you have a routine that you know what's going to happen every day, roughly, and off you go, based on your values and morals.
Well, habits, just like businesses, take time to create, take time to really put into work as well. Having a good personal routine, the first few weeks, months, you're not going to like it, but then you're going to start seeing the benefits of it, and then it becomes something that you can build further on.
Yeah, I agree.
Going to bed early, why?
Got to get my sleep.
There we go.
You only have to go to bed early if you have to get up early.
But that's not a routine. That you need to go to bed early, and then you should always be waking up early.
No. Your routine is whatever it is. Maybe you go to bed at midnight and you wake up at 8 in the morning. Maybe you go to bed at 9 and wake up at 6. Whatever your routine is will vary from person to person depending on your needs for the day.
That's
If you work
true.
the swing shift, you're gonna have or a night shift, you're gonna have a different sleep routine.
Yeah.
You can always wake up at 6, regardless of when you go to bed, and then that's how you discipline. And then you're starting to build in. Then you go to bed earlier. Be like, oh, I need to sleep.
So let's talk about that, because what you're saying is, I have to get up at 6 for whatever reason. All right, so then you work backwards. In order to get up at 6, what has to happen? Well, I better be in bed by 10, or I'm going to be dragging. And so if that's your routine, 10 to 6. If I go to bed at 2, I'm going to suffer because I still got to get up at 6 if I want to keep my routine.
That sounds like you're just building more discipline.
Well, routine is discipline.
Yeah.
I think by
because
definition.
you're keeping your routine.
Right.
So it's like, oh man, I went to bed at 2. I could theoretically sleep in till 10.
If I want to lose my job.
But it's like, no, my routine is 6 a.m. Now I'm going to keep that routine. And I think that actually helps build strength. I was going to say, sometimes how we can build stronger men is through that accomplishment. You work on something, because I mean, let's take black belt. We'll go back to black belt. Why did black belt feel so good to get? It's because it took a long time to get it.
It was a lot of work.
And it took a lot of work. That's why it's so special.
And you had to overcome challenges.
Yeah, obstacles and challenges, exactly. That's why black belt is such a special belt. Nobody really cares about all the other belts, even though you kind of went through all the same stuff. But yet, that's like the pinnacle.
It's actually the beginning.
Yeah. It is technically the beginning. It's right when you get to the trailhead.
Well, if you think about it, every discipline, military, sports, academics, job, relationship, it all takes discipline and work. And it's all guided by your morals and values. Who you choose to live with or associate with is guided by your morals and values.
And by doing that will help build self-confidence, because you have those morals and guidelines that you adhere to, and then you have those accomplishments and that discipline, and knowing that you can do something that builds self-value or self-worth or self-esteem.
Well, I think you're right. I think it's your success and accomplishments that build the self-esteem.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Now, is there a difference between self-confidence and self-esteem? They're related, but is there a difference? There's two words.
Yeah, I kind of use them interchangeably. Even
Can
though
you have self-esteem without having self-confidence?
You can have low self-esteem without self-confidence.
Say that again.
Low self-esteem is I think self-esteem, this is my personal opinion, is a consistent level, right? You can always be in high self-esteem. Maybe you'll be in low self-esteem. Self-confidence is on a case-by-case basis. I can be very self-confident about doing this one particular task because I'm good at that task. Or I might not have a lot of confidence because I've never done that task before.
Yes, I agree. Does your confidence affect your self-esteem?
I believe so.
I think so, yeah. I think they're related.
Yeah, I kind of use them interchangeably, to be honest with you. Even though I know I shouldn't.
See, this is exactly the kind of exercise. Now, my next step would be to look them up, the definition, and see why there's two words.
Yeah.
They mean different things.
Exactly, because there are two different words.
So how different, and is it relevant difference? Right?
Yeah, that's yeah, you're right.
I love these intellectual exercises because that's how you grow. Then you learn something. Words have meanings.
Yes.
And that's why, you know who Jordan Peterson is?
Yeah.
Oh, yep.
He says, I choose my words very carefully.
And you can tell he does, because in his interviews, he actually takes time to think about what he's going to say and how he's going to say it.
Yep.
He doesn't just spew out whatever's on his mind.
Which is what most people do.
Mm-hmm.
Pick your words wisely.
And that goes back to thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that critical thinking.
And learning words. You have to learn vocabulary.
What? Words are hard.
I is smart.
Me smart. Yep, exactly. But no, I mean, I'm excited for the direction that TruMotion is taking. I'm excited to have conversations with you about how can we build strong men. I haven't quite, even though it seems like it's doom and gloom for the next generation. It's like I'm not giving up on them, and I see the kids that come in here, and some of them honestly give me extreme hope. I'm like, oh man, when I see you, I know there's hope for the future. And it's I need to replicate and do and build more of you. The whole building better people. I mean, I don't know of a better purpose to have than to try to build better people and make the world a better place.
Exactly.
Because do you remember the movie Kingdom of Heaven?
Vaguely.
It's with Orlando Bloom. It's about the Crusades. Ridley Scott directed it. Great movie. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend watching it. Well, anyways, towards the beginning of the movie, they're at this blacksmith's, and he's got a word scribed across the top of his workshop. And one of the guys didn't know how to read it. And he goes, "What does that saying say?" And he goes, "What man is a man if he does not make the world a better place?" And that's always stuck with me. And it's that is very, very true. What man is a man if they're not trying to make their world better?
And all you can do is influence
who you can.
Years ago, when it came to politics, I was like, well, I'm not going to run for office. What can I do? I can influence myself and the people that I interact with.
Mm-hmm.
And that
exactly.
They hopefully will take some of that in their circle.
Yeah. It starts with you work on you, going back to working on you. When you're good, your home's good. When your home's good, your neighborhood's good. When your neighborhood's good, your community's good. When your community's good, your region's good. And it's like you said, it's got that trickle effect. So, in fact, I was having a discussion, Luke, the big, tall brown belt. We were having this discussion, and he goes, I just don't know how we can make, it seems too big. There's too many things that I don't feel like we can change anything.
Well, he's right.
But you can change
yourself.
Yeah. And by changing yourself, and we went through that same exact scenario. And I listened to a guy, and I've turned you on to him, and I know you listen to him, Andy Frisella. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I really like what he says is personal excellence is the greatest form of rebellion. And
rebellion against what?
What's going on around us. So if you are the greatest version of yourself, you can make the greatest change within your area.
And what determines your greatest self?
What you personally.
I know, but what criteria?
Well, what you set for yourself. Like, do you have good moral standards?
Your morals and values.
Morals and values. Are you are you a good husband?
But that's
a
a
good
value.
father?
Those are moral. So it all boils down to morals and values.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm glad we're talking about these because most people don't have these discussions anymore. Like, when was the last time you had discussions about morals and values with just people?
Like outside of church.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't, and I probably should.
Well, I'm just thinking about different things. Society is going out of their way to destroy good morals and good values.
Yeah.
Oh, it's religion and religion's bad. We can get into the whole conversation of the difference between religion and church.
Yeah, because I have an opinion of religion and church as well. I feel like sometimes churches, because you meet churchy people and they are just like the most judgmental, like awful people
Hypocrites.
in the world. Yeah, and then you met religious people and like they're people that you would go to battle with.
Well, I define churches as a man-made organization.
Yeah.
You know, the Catholic Church,
Yeah,
the Protestant
exactly.
Church, the Mormon Church, and religion more like scripture. Like,
Yeah.
what did Jesus really say, and what's the real lesson here?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I find it ironic that I don't know how many Christian churches there are. What, a couple hundred different ones?
Yeah.
They're 99% the same, and they all hate each other over the 1% that they interpret differently.
Yeah.
It's not even that it's different.
And that's kind of the same thing with society. It's like 99% of the problems we all get along with. But it's that one thing that, oh, you believe this, I can't. I used to like you until I figured that out. Now we can't be friends.
I figured you're a liberal.
Yeah, and it's like, come on, people. It's like everybody's going to, majority of the things people agree with. And they have the same thought process on. But it's that 1% that we don't agree with.
But it's not always the same thought process.
No, it's not. But usually, for the most part, it is, I would say.
I think what I hear you saying is we as a society tend to agree on the basic tenets of what we think is right and wrong.
Yes.
But we differ on, well, that said, it's just that. But
The fringe things.
well, it's not even it's how we process information. And I know it's not politics.
Interpretation.
It's how we process. In other words, okay, I'm going to have to say liberals and conservatives as stereotypes. I grew up in a liberal household. Well, let me put it this way. There's people who think things through and look for the truth and look for logic based on current information. Maybe they don't have all, and they're willing to change.
Yeah.
And then there's people who won't.
Yeah.
They believe this and they don't want to hear anything else, and they don't change.
And that's on both sides.
That's why I'm trying
Yeah,
not to use
exactly.
labels. So seeking truth, like, I don't know if Buddha said, oh, these guys say seek truth.
Yeah.
That's a very important concept to practice.
Exactly.
And it may not be what you, hey, if we all believed now what we did when we were 20, we're not growing.
I think Muhammad Ali said something like that.
He said, I float like a butterfly and sting like a bee.
He did say that. He also said he was so fast he could turn the lights off and be in bed before it was dark.
That's Chuck Norris.
No, yeah. No, he actually said that. He goes, if you're the same person 50 years from now, you just wasted 50 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, exactly, I completely agree. It's more about finding the truth as opposed to what you, quote unquote, identify with.
And being willing to change.
Yeah.
That goes back to ego.
Yes.
I don't want to change. I was right before. I'm never wrong.
Yeah.
Hey, you're wrong.
Yeah. And it's okay to be wrong sometimes because that means you're growing.
I wouldn't know.
There are the exceptions.
I hear it's tough.
I hear it's tough to be wrong, but
It's pretty bad to be wrong.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough.
That's what I've heard.
It hurts my feelings. But, you have to have feelings to have them hurt, right?
That's what they say.
I
I wouldn't know about that either.
I see. That's what I'm saying.
On that note, that's an interesting note because growing up, I didn't think feelings were important. Like if somebody says, "Oh, that I'm sad," or "That hurt my feelings," I'm like, "What changes? Like, why is that a problem? Nothing changes in your life." When I was, teenager,
when you're younger,
right? Now I realize it's just almost the opposite. The feelings are probably the most important thing.
I remember we had discussions about that where it was like the feeling, because again, we hear the term feelings and it's like we automatically associate it with like happy-go-lucky, like blah, 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 blah. But it's like, no, it's like feelings drive everything.
And I'm not saying give in to all your feelings
Yeah.
because they're transient, but I'm saying having good feelings and promoting good feelings, positive feelings based on morals and values
Yeah.
is very important.
Yeah.
Hurting someone's feelings always still sounds weak to me, but it's not. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Now we become overly sensitive and everything hurts our feelings, so that's a problem too.
Yeah, no, we definitely need to find, it's that balance. I mean, we had an episode that talked about balance, and it's definitely one of those balance things. It's okay to acknowledge your feelings, but you can't be
Ruled by them.
Yeah, you can't be driven by your feelings. So, but yeah, honestly, I feel like we're gonna have to have you back for another episode. I mean, we're almost like 2 hours into it.
Okay.
And I know you got to get out of here, but I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to come talk with us. I hope this can find somebody and hopefully open their eyes, or maybe something we said just resonates with somebody in a positive way, and it creates change. I mean, we're about building better people, and that's what still kind of excites me as well, is that ability to make change with people, make change in people. And hopefully this reaches somebody to the point to where they heard something and they were thinking a certain way. Now they're not. Now they're thinking in a better way.
Well, it's like that joke. How many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? None. It has to want to change for itself. We can't make people change.
Exactly.
We can influence them. We can educate them. We can encourage them. But it's up to them. Like you said about something else about the workout or whatever.
Exactly.
You got to do the push-ups.
We do it
You
in the
gotta-
best way too.
Yeah.
With karate
bunch
and
of
punching and
people.
kicking.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we really appreciate you coming on in. Again, we'll have to do this again maybe in another month or so.
Anytime.
I'd love to. I mean, shoot, we just basically I asked like 2 or 3 questions, but it branched off into like something I didn't even think it was going to go into today. But that's fantastic. That's exactly what we needed to talk about. But yeah, again, just thank you for taking the time to come on here and talk with us. And again, hopefully this finds somebody that needs to hear something. So if you haven't looked us up, find us on TruMotion.ma.com, or just, go onto our social media sites. We're going to be having a tournament next weekend. So if you're in the Taylorsville area, you can hop on over to the Taylorsville High School and check us out at 10:30 a.m. at the Taylorsville High School. But thank you for joining us, and make sure you kick it back with us next time.
Kick it with us next time.